a heavy downpour, which started in the early hours of Sunday, August 27th, created a heavy flood in Makurdi, Benue State. According to reports, Benue State Emergency Management Agency, SEMA, said over 110,000 persons were so far affected across the 24 communities in Makurdi and its environs. The flood is said to be the worst after that of 2012. Now, we're discussing this because there was almost a simultaneous flood that happened in Houston. And we saw how communities stood up. Yes, the federal government was there to assist them, and the communities rose up to the challenge of assistance. Because we had I think it was a reporter, somebody who was able to get somebody over in the US who was telling us his own experience. And now looking at it, our own version of the situation, people are still in IDP camps, people are stranded, there's no food, there are issues. I mean, what are your thoughts on the flood in Benue? And do you think that the government has done enough to help alleviate the sufferings of the people at this time? Who would like to go first? Joshua?
I think that we, as a people, we need to take the environment more seriously. Apart from the fact that the government will come out and tell you that you need to prevent this, you need to prevent that, you need to do this, you need to do that, and one of impending danger. But they will still push the blames to the people that, oh, you have blocked your drainage, you have blocked this, you have blocked that, you have blocked this. If people take environment seriously, right, you will be more conscious when there are things happening in your environment, dredging is happening in the environment, the water level is rising, you're more conscious. But if it happens, which will eventually happen, if you don't take it seriously, when it happens, what do we do about it? What do we do to people?
In the case of the US, we were told that they were warned. Some refused to leave, but at least they had a lot of warning.
But the flood was still above expectation, above and beyond what they expected in terms of what happened. And that was it was a storm. It was a hurricane. It's not near to what happened in Nigeria. 110 people, 110,000 people were displaced. And people said that this flooding takes place yearly, like it's an annual thing, we know. And by this time, some communities, more communities were affected this time, but some standard communities, within the valleys, it always happens. When the rain comes, everybody knows that they'll get flooded. So since it is reoccurring, what has the government been doing to mitigate this? And it's simple. Well, it should be simple, because when we know the crisis and we know what to expect, then we should know how to avoid people being displaced right now. The response rate is poor in terms of availability of food, blankets, things that they need. We are now raising funds individually to help crowdfunding what should be a norm. Now, I understand even in the US, there was crowdfunding.
I agree.
People, celebrities volunteered a whole lot of money to support. But I wonder what exactly the state governor has been doing. He's been there for this has been going on for a while, and we could do something. The response rate is slow. I would say that this is beyond individual, and I want to always say that what can you do as an individual? This flooding is not your gutter is clogged. This flooding is not gutter clogging. This is a flooding of natural disaster, waterways. So when we're building houses, when infrastructural development is carried out by is approved by government, so the roads. What kind of roads do you put in such areas? How are you building the houses? Should there be a standard of raising the houses really high?
Right. Okay.
It's very sad to have this kind of flooding, but you know, I try to think about it and rationalize things. One, I have blame for government. I also have blame for residents. Housing is so in areas like Benue, Kogi, those areas are on the floodplains are supposed to be taken care of by government. State government should provide housing in such areas. You reclaim land, develop land like Jakonde did. You have all these local housing estates, the one in Iba, in Mautu, they were on floodplains. But till date, if you live there in rainy season, no matter what happens, they don't get flooded this bad. Because government put in enough effort to reclaim that land, build in a way and created drainages that were permanent. First Act today is on a floodplain. But you pass through First Act, once the rain is done, everywhere is dry again. Because somebody put in the right effort to build. Now, because we want to provide our own housing, does it mean that we must go to block drainages and block waterways and, build on areas that are not supposed to be? Then when we have flooding, we start to scream for help.
And that goes back to the responsibility of the people.
That goes back to the Ministry of Lands. In approving properties, approving urban planning and approving, development. What is town planning doing? You don't allow such building. You don't just mark X. Because I read this morning when the spokesperson for Benue State was asking for private people to help, citizens to help them in this flood case, saying that, they block drainages, people built on those drainages. You don't talk like that, and that demolition is going to cost them. So what they are just asking is for people to assist. This is the lazy man way to this kind of thing.
Let me take this call from Dio. Dio, are you there?
Hello?
Morning, thanks for calling. You're live. Go ahead, please.
Hello, morning.
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 I think I'll go with Nima. We don't blame government for... Hello?
We can hear
You're
you,
live,
Dio.
Go ahead. Right, Jumoke, you're going to say something.
Okay, so particularly in Benue, a few citizens are alleging that they don't have drainages, and they had contractors since 2007 who were supposed to build drainages. They collected money and didn't do anything. It's a sad situation that citizens all the time have to crowdfund. The reason we have any government in any country is so that there's a purse. People pay taxes, and when there is an emergency, government ought to rise up, because nobody could have built a shelter for 110,000 people expecting a crisis. Exactly like what happened in Houston. They couldn't have built a shelter ready to accommodate everybody, but once it happened, all hands, including the president, flew into Houston helping to feed people. They threw mattresses in churches, in sports arenas for people to just camp and have feeding and duvets and things to keep them alive. In terms of natural disasters like this, and this isn't, like Tokwe mentioned, blocked drainages. This is rivers over flooding their banks. Nobody could have prepared for it. I expect that the state governor and the presidency will be on top of this matter. People are complaining that at IDP camps you don't even have facilities.
Right.
They're human beings.
Yeah, I mean, Joshua, we read the reports that the IDPs were complaining of food. They didn't have enough food. And the neighboring states, Nasarawa, Kogi, these are places that we know you can actually move in to assist. But it goes back to citizen response.
No.
Are people willing to go there, to these communities?
I think people have been willing to sacrifice. And I've seen a lot of social media campaigns to ask for contributions because this money is going to be going to help the Benue people. But I read in the papers this morning that 3.2 billion naira was stolen over 71 months. And this money was meant for local governments, allocation being diverted. Stories like this make you worry that when leaders, when some people, a group of people divert funds that would have gone into development of the environment, then we see crises like this happen. We need to be selfless as per leaders must be selfless.
And then you now come and ask for citizen contribution when the people who want to do it are carrying the money and stealing it.
Josh,
I think it's not just about blaming the government. Right. People should learn to hold government accountable.
How?
I can't be in Benue. In Lagos State, for instance, the roads are bad, have been bad for a while. People started complaining. You start talking about it. You don't wait for the disaster to happen before you start running. And then you expect the government to do a magic overnight. This thing has been on. Everybody, Tokwe was mentioning local government funds. Everybody knows that in Nigeria, as long as the state electoral bodies are conducting the local government elections, there's nothing. So you cannot even hold the state government accountable. So if you know that it rained over for how many days? For 4 days, and the rivers, overshot their bank, and then you expect the people to now start carrying their thing themselves. No, it's beyond them. So they need to have held the government accountable. This thing has been there. They've been living there for years.
Let me take this call from Victory. Victory, are you there? Go ahead, please.
Sir.
What fact is this? Even as we speak now, it's not peculiar to me drainage alone. These days, even on my street, you see people building blocks of flats. They don't make provision for car parks. They expect their tenants to park somewhere on the government road. And government is sitting down there watching. They are supposed to charge this responsibility. They are there watching. In my state, there's no drainage for any people builders. They don't have a gutter. And are there was, if we are looking at venue, it's applicable to so many things. I just hope government will stand up and write this petition. Thank you. God bless you.
All right.
Just like I said earlier, that I wanted to disagree with Jumoke. Benue State is by River Benue. It's already close to the floodplain. You don't need, government should approve buildings and reclaim lands there, yes. But we as citizens should know better than to build on those areas or in those areas. We should go uphill. You should know better. Don't be too desperate. Now, you see what people will do. The season is dry, I'll build. No matter what I build, it's a house. I do house.
That's why we have a government.
That's wrong, though. You don't just
that's why we have a government.
And even
so isn't it supposed to be government to approve the building?
Even private individuals are helping out with with resettlement and rehabilitation of people that are there. Government can't do it all alone. Yes, they have their duties. We also have our own.
Benue is the food basket. There's likely to be food going expensive.
As the president even visited, you say that government cannot do it alone. The only people doing it seems like it's only the citizens that are doing it.
I would love President Buhari to be there right now. I would love better that that he has a policy to rehabilitate the people rather than go there and visit and pay lip service.
All right, unfortunately, we can't take any more on this. Joshua.
it's sad.
Olai Yemi says, where are Nigerian leaders? They don't visit disaster areas.
All right, unfortunately, we can't take any more. Let's take a break. When we come back, we discussed stress last week. As I said, we have a doctor in the house to tell us how to manage stress and depression. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
I'm sleepy. Thanks for staying with us. Last week, Tuesday, we talked about a report that said that 7 million Nigerians are going through stress and depression. In a way, this is affecting everyday activities of many Nigerians. Joining us on the show to discuss how to handle stress and depression is the PRO Association of Public Health Physicians of Nigeria, Dr. Adedoyin Ogunyemi. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Let's watch this short clip first.
It is estimated annually that depression affects at least 1 in 15 adults, and 1 in 6 persons will experience some form of depression at some point in their life. Silence continues to deter many of those suffering from depression from gaining access to treatment before it leads to suicide. With recent cases globally and in Nigeria, stakeholders want a lot more to be done. Depression remains a serious mental health issue and could start off with simple symptoms like sadness, change in appetite.
Right.
Sadness.
That's depression. Now, we obviously know that a lot of things in our town, in our country, is stressing us. People are going through stress. Somehow they are managing the stress, but we now realize that some people are actually slipping into depression. So how do we, first of all, identify that you're stressed out before you get to the point where it starts getting into depression?
Okay, so let's start by saying stress can be positive or negative, such that it can help you to perform better. However, if it's long or chronic, then it overwhelms you. So you start slipping into depression when you notice that you're beginning to have maybe mood changes. So ordinarily, if you catch yourself snapping unnecessarily, being irritable, losing concentration, you don't feel like eating, you want to sleep, you can't sleep, poor sleep, things that ordinarily will be pleasurable to you is no longer there, then you should start looking and asking yourself, what's stressing me out? And then seek help.
Right. So there are two things that we usually, when we want to seek help, we turn towards. We turn to religion,
straight to church,
alcoholism. There's a lot of, as in one of the most flourishing business within Nigeria right now is the bar business, because everybody resorts to drinking to relieve stress. Please educate us. Is that a viable solution to help you forget? And 2, is the church the right place to go when you're feeling stressed out before it gets to depression?
Okay, so we all have different coping strategies. And it's nice to identify what your own coping strategy is. For some people, going to that faith-based place is their coping strategy.
Right.
And I wouldn't blame them at all, because when you go there, you're motivated. You will make it. It's going to be better. And you shout, amen. And so if perhaps that's what has made it flourish, you know, because we have problems, and therefore they make you feel a little better.
Yes.
So to some extent, that could be good, but it could go to another extent where it takes over, you're being brainwashed and so on and so forth. Whereas overdoing alcohol or substance is dangerous. It can't be good, because it will let you perhaps forget, as they say, but it's only momentary. And you find out that you need to increase the dose of what you're taking as when the stress increases. And so it doesn't help at all.
As Africans, we disagree with the whites on what stress really means, because you know, we do certain things. It's our daily life. As you go survive, they are normal. Certain things that you know are major stressors, you don't face them. Like having a child, for instance, you are coping with as a first-time mother. That is what is wrong with you? Are you the first to have child? Snap out of it. You're having you lose a job. No, snap out. You get another job. You know, things that some people call major issues are downplayed here. How and what exactly do we, you know, define stress, and you know, to understand it, to know when to call it a real situation before it gets to depression?
Okay, so stress can be from external things or internally. So external, like life events you've just mentioned, I think we're a bit hard on ourselves, because a lot of people go through stress even with pregnancy and delivery, and we have what we call postpartum depression. But they expect you, like you say, because of our culture. What we have going for us, which is different, is, and maybe we're losing it a bit, is the family and support network, which we're gradually losing. So ideally, a woman who is by herself, doesn't have somebody to care for her, and she's caring for a baby, will feel really sad and unhappy and just stressed out, a new mom. But if you then have somebody who can lift your leg, do this for you, and so on and so forth, those things make you feel a little better. So for us, I think what we have coped with is family and community supporting us. But we shouldn't downplay it. If somebody, it's something we should talk about, and we shouldn't downplay it at all. This year we celebrated the World Health Day, and it was Depression, Let's Talk. Young people, even young people, adolescents, their bodies are changing. They are looking for acceptance. They want to experiment and so on, and then
so indicators on the internal indicators. You talked about the external one, the internal one. I'd like to understand.
The internal one are the feelings that can make you feel depressed. It could be an illness. And your body is just not well, and that sinks you into depression. Or it could be psychological from your thoughts.
Okay, you talked about life issues, and still on similar to Nima's question, because the truth is that we have to survive, and there's stress. You just got fired, you're trying to start a business, your husband is having issues, or your wife is having issues, your kids are not doing so. Everything is happening. Life happens to you, and you're trying to manage everything. And you come out, you're looking good, you're looking all right, but still internally, you're eating away. Your entire being is eating away gradually because you're stressed out. Now, the Nigerian factor is either you go to church, you'll be all right, but the point is that I see you and you're looking okay. But I want you to explain to us, at what point that person who looks evidently okay, at what point does that person lose it completely, where everything that has been suppressed suddenly just comes up tumbling over each other? At what point does it get to that chronic where you're like, listen girl, this thing you're bottling up, you better go and get help because you're under too much pressure. As at what point do I know that I've gotten to the limit? Or as a friend, how do I know that, okay, Jumoke, it's time for you to get help on your issues? Do you understand the question?
Yes. I think by yourself, first is to know yourself and admit to yourself when you know that this stress has gone beyond it. And I've just said that you will see that you're not probably eating as much as you should, or you're not enjoying things you used to enjoy. But you can notice it in somebody else too. And that brings us back to being close to each other. You can notice that this person stays alone in the room for longer time, you know, or talks to himself or herself. Just catch the person talking.
A lot of people who are introverted, you know, like me, I love to stay alone. People have issues. Can they just stay outside of my door?
So the difference is that there will be a change from whatever you are to something else.
Okay.
And that's when you should talk to people. I think we should talk to people more. How are you feeling? And then when people come to the hospital for different things, I find that some people come to the hospital and they just give you bizarre symptoms. This place is scratching me. This place is this. When I touch my ear, it goes red. You know? As doctors or as health workers, we should probe a little. What's the problem? Is there any other?
It could actually be emotional.
Okay, so Dr. Doyin, for somebody whose stressor is the government,
like you have to take it to the government.
That they are just stealing money every day,
and you hear the figures,
and the figures are just giving you headaches. You want to just collapse.
Relocate to America, please. Relocate.
What do you do?
Well, vent it.
To who?
You're venting it.
Not on TV.
So thank you for mentioning venting, because I realize that when I feel stressed, I look for someone to talk to. It helps me to unburden, and I use music a lot. But you mentioned the teenagers, someone trying to cope with their body, coping with the desire to experiment on something they've been told is wrong. As parents watching, how do they understand this child is changing? Could it be depression? And how do they deal with it? Because I've been to situations where parents just say, snap out. Oh, they're really, as in, they feel like by shouting at you, they get you out of that mood. But can you educate us on how parents can get children out of?
Let me pause you for a quick second. I have a call from, thanks for calling. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I just want to contribute about the debt issue.
Yes, go ahead. We can't hear you. Sorry, it's not clear, Wally. I'm really sorry. So the question of Tokwe asked.
So I would think that when you have a teenager in the house, make your home livable. As teenagers, even as good as we are, if you thought you were a good teenager, there were some times you wanted your own space, sort of. And parents are here, you just go to the other place. You just don't want to share the same space. Because the moment you sit together, the next question is, so when is school resuming? So what is the...
Oh, God, what's the place, Joe?
You know, make them comfortable around you. Okay. Let them be able to say those things that make you go, don't even do... Just say, wow, it happened to me too when I was much younger. So make them a little comfortable. I've had young people say things like they're experiencing things, but their parents don't know. One of them said he wears long shirts every time he's at home because he has tattoos on his body, and he doesn't, you know, some just keep licking tom-tom and tom-tom and tom-tom, and you don't know why they are hiding something. So I think we should make them comfortable enough and not be overly surprised when they do some things that are... Allow it pass for that time, and then call it. It's not easy. But
we have to go on a break.
You don't want to push them away.
We have to go on a break. I have an uncle that his daughter came with blue hair. He just swallowed spit.
Yes.
He kept saying,
like what is it blue?
Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll continue this conversation. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Thanks for staying with us. So we're talking about stress quite a bit, but let's go into depression. Now we're at the point where somebody is depressed. How do you handle a depressed person? Is it medical? Is it counseling? What exactly do you do when you're depressed?
Okay, so if the person is depressed, usually if the person may not realize, so somebody may call their attention to it, and they should seek help. Coming to the hospital to say that I have a low mood should not be something that should be a stigma to anybody at all. Everybody is entitled to. There's an assessment scale that can tell how bad it is, and they can start from things like talking you out of it, so which could be psychological or emotional.
Dr. Doyin, can we have facilities? If all of us show up in your hospital now with all sorts of, you know, different shades of depression, my own with government, Our own is money. Our own, she wants to beat her daughter. And all of us just show up. What I'm saying is, the reason we downplay it is we don't even have the facilities that much for everyone to show up in the hospital with all of their emotional and stress issues.
Quick addendum. How often do people actually come to express themselves? And I think I'm suffering from depression. Does that even happen right now?
Very rarely. Out of probably some 50 that have depression, only one will come to the hospital.
Let me pause for I have a call from I have a call from Italy.
Oh,
Italy. Oh. Hi, Praise from Napoli, Italy. Thanks for calling. Are you there? We can hear you very clearly.
I guess you guys are looking beautiful this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How is Italo?
Hello? Yeah. Italo is fine. Italo is fine. I'm a first-time caller anyway.
Welcome to the show. First, go ahead, please.
We hope you are not stressed.
Thank you very much. Okay. Although I'm a little bit late this morning on the program, and you people are doing amazingly well.
Thank you, sir.
In short, my little contribution to the program is just that our government, they are so stubborn, and I don't know the language to describe. I've been in this country for the past 12 years. And the way things, except you are going to go out of Nigeria, that is when you see that our government, they are not doing anything. And those people that come to you, they should try to see how the system works here in Europe. Let me be out of the program you people are doing this morning. But anybody who can give that country a single light, and that person's name will be written in a gold.
All right. Thank you very much, Prince. Okay. Thank you very much.
May I read a few tweets, Mariah? Sir Adetaya says, it's obvious that stress and depression is on the increase in Nigeria. It's more of financial, economic frustration. John Owoni says, avoiding stress as humans is impossible, but gaining control over it is the key. Family, friends matter all the time. Wana Joseph says, I think comedy is one perfect way to ease one's stress. People should attend comedy shows more. So tell us the solution. I mean, the stressors will always be there.
I actually had a question before we get to solution. Okay. How do we as individuals help contribute to stress and depression individually? Because I have a loved one who is always sitting down comparing lifestyle. Okay, you have a car, I don't have. You have a husband, I don't have. Your husband has a house, I don't have. You know, those kind of things. She does it all the time. I love her so much, but I gradually see her now. She has gotten to that point where I think she's actually depressed.
Okay. So we're going to go to solution. So it's all part of the same solution. Yes. But let me take this call from Ibironko, then you come to solution generally. Right. Ibironko, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Thanks for calling. Go ahead, please.
I just want to ask the lady there, if you are hating the government too much and you are being stressed up, what do you do?
No, we're asking now. We're asking the doctor. Thank you very much, Ibiroke. We're asking the doctor for all the
family members.
So many issues, scenarios. I have to add one final scenario for you answer. I mean, I know of a woman who was alleging that somebody else was sleeping with her husband. The woman is depressed, going into depression, you know, and she's looking for answers. But that kind of person, plus the other scenarios you've had, how do you generally deal with stress?
Okay. So there is something called resilience, and we all must build some form of resilience. You build resilience through life. Life teaches you resilience. And resilience is not necessarily lying to yourself, but it's creating alternatives to your own problems. Okay, so you talked about somebody comparing and all of that. You know, build your own alternative ideas. It's not my time now. My own time will come, and then I'll be able to do this and this and that. And I mean, you have options. You can't stick it.
Right. Somebody cheating on your husband.
You know, you're not sure, and you're being depressed about it. Talk to somebody about it. How can you handle it? We all have different ways. Again, back to your own coping strategies, which includes talking, venting, counseling. Unfortunately, we don't take counseling seriously here. You talked about the hospital. Not every case should come to the hospital. You should have social workers. But many times, some of these things are seen as accessories. You know, but it's when people have babies, they should have social workers go visit them. How are you doing? Are you fine at home? Are you coping? Any problem? But we see it as maybe a little too much. But if we invest in things like this, we will not get to to that problem.
Someone mentioned comedy shows. Maybe you laugh.
Yeah.
Maybe for me it's music. When I listen to music, I'll just dance.
And the problem.
Yes, I feel better
But
when
to
I'm
come right
done.
back after eventually.
No, but that's a coping mechanism, so I use it to...
Marianne Osuji is saying, let's have a support system where we can help ourselves. What would you recommend as a support system?
So again, back to your networks. For some people, it could be faith-based. For some other people, it could be work-based. For some other people,
what can we do in the office, for instance?
In the office, so you could have your own work-life balance thing. And I think many offices do that now, where they create some opportunity for staff outside of office.
Should they just be playing music for us?
In between work, every workplace should have where you can go and cool off, some tea place with, I mean, enough of, and then if sometimes you need to take a break, it should be given. But here you guys have a lot of fun. So work-life balance.
I can't, you know, over-thank my neighbors.
Yeah.
They're wonderful people. They've helped me. This second one, I didn't even know what postpartum was. I was just flowing and enjoying myself. They'll come, they'll stay with me, ask for help. They'll insist I need help.
Let's be caring
You
neighbors.
need help with something, just tell us what you need. I used to be proud to think, you know, I don't want to send. But eventually, now I'm just enjoying.
But I think you probably even deserve that because you initiate that communal living strategy. Many people don't, and I think we need to.
Mariah, I don't,
right,
but my neighbor, you still come and knock on my door.
This is a story of life.
All right, we need to rush up. I hope you've learned quite a bit on how to manage your stress and depression, and please seek help. Look for groups. What is your WhatsApp group? Just sending messages. Those groups are supposed to be intimate. Have groups where you can talk to each other and you tell each other the truth. It helps. Have a fabulous day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.